by 2 minutes to have this conversation, but Isaac Ngusi is in the studios. Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. And by the way, there has been this online reaction on that conversation we had with Debbie,
Yes.
where she said that even if you left Rwanda, Rwagasao, and went to Canada,
Yeah.
if you leave Rwanda as a small rat, you don't become a pussycat in Canada. You become a big rat. Now, people
man.
have reacted saying, no, she's very wrong. They try to say that when you change from one environment to another, things can get better financially. I want you to first respond to that before we delve into the conversation.
You want fire from the start to the finish. That's what you want. You don't
If
want
your
peace.
mindset is wrong in Rwanda about money, it continues to be.
Well, what you? Yes, I agree. I think maybe the straightforward response to that is that I agree. If you have your mindset travels with you wherever you go. So if you have a mindset that is focused on consumption, if you have a mindset that isn't focused on building, it doesn't matter the opportunities. You will remain in your mindset determines your results. Okay, that's the quickest way to say it. The way you think about something, anything, will determine your results and lifestyle regarding that thing, whatever it is. So if you're from somewhere in the world where you think that it's very good to give bonbon to as much bonbon as possible to your children so that they can enjoy sugar, yeah, the teeth are going to suffer.
Regardless what
because
territory you are in.
whichever because if you think that that's the thing to do to help your child enjoy is to give them a lot of sugar, then there's a natural result of that type of behavior. Maybe you have a child who enjoys going with you to the shop because they know they're getting something when they get there.
It's going to be bonbon.
It's going to be bonbon, but their teeth have to suffer because sugar and teeth are not a good long-term relationship. Or sugar and blood health or diabetic health is those are not a good combination, right? Physical health. So if we think that if we think that just changing the environment will change, you might change your opportunities, yes, but probably not change your lifestyle and your results, because you will still engage the same behavior that got you your old results. You'll just get them in a new situation, in a new environment.
I know today we're going to talk about the compounding element, but even before we get there, as I listen to this conversation, and how we most of the time want to leave Africa to go out of Africa because we want to increase the chances on how we land on opportunity, because we call the other world the land of opportunities. And this is not to discourage people who want to go.
Do what you want to
But
do.
I was just meditating on when you are born poor, from a poor background, limited resources, no education, no money. I was listening to this guy yesterday who was saying that you can make wealth from nothing. And
Yeah.
that started to bother me.
How?
The how.
Well, it's not really from nothing, right? You need to make you can make wealth without money, yes, but you can't make with nothing. You can't make anything with nothing, right?
But when you have nothing, can we preach the same gospel to people who have nothing?
Nobody has nothing.
They're living on porridge.
Okay, so you have porridge.
So you build on that.
So you build on that. You have to have. Okay, so first of all, we need to appreciate that that we, if we can take into consideration, if we can remember the few things we have, that's the starting point. Because first of all, nothing doesn't exist. Have you ever seen nothing before?
No.
Nothing doesn't exist. There is no nothing. There cannot be space without something to fill it. At least in the universe we are living in. Even what this air between us, it's not nothing. There's air between you and me as we're talking. So we should not discount what we think is little or not enough. It is still there. One of the reasons why we suffer in life is because we don't appreciate the things that we actually have, while we are focused on the things that we want and yet don't have yet, right? So you have this lovely woman who is very good to you and kind and sweet and supportive, but she doesn't look like Beyonce. And you say, I have nothing. I really have. Look at all these women on social media. Me, I really have nothing.
I have nothing in this woman.
There's nothing. Kumbe, right? So, unfortunately, sometimes we need to lose the nothing we think we don't have before we realize, oh, I had something, right? So let's not take for granted what we have. That's the first thing. Also, when we recognize what we have, that something that we have, that even if you think it's little, it's the beginning of building. That's what you start to build with. So when you have porridge, you have something in your stomach, you have energy, you have fuel in your body. Even if it wasn't sweet, there was no sugar. You know, our parents, they grew up eating porridge, sosoma, with no sugar. They used to eat sugar on Christmas.
True.
Yeah, Christmas that's when you get sugar and you get chicken maybe on New Year's.
And
That's
get cooking
the
oil.
end. Huh?
And get cooking oil.
Cooking oil. That one you put
Christmas.
boiro. There's oil in the chicken. You boiro. The chicken itself has the oil inside. You boil it. So when we can recognize that we have something to build with, in order to make money, you need to be able to give value. Value is the reason to get money. Value is the reason to get wealth. So when you start with value, you have some kind of value. You can slash the grass. You can clean the house. You can learn how to drive a car, and you can drive someone where they're going. You can go to school and learn something and help someone complete a task more simply. Or you can be trustworthy. By the way, being trustworthy is extremely valuable. You can honor your word. When you say you're going to do something, you execute, and you do it in time, and you do it well. This is value that earns money. When we focus on building our value and the value contributions to those who would pay us, that's when we start making money. So increase your value, you will make money. That one is for sure. There's
From
no
nothing.
question. Not from nothing. There's no nothing. With the brain you have, you will add value. With the hands and the feet you have, you will add value.
That's a very comforting message to just understand this morning that you might be with limited resources.
Absolutely.
Your access to education might be very limited.
Yeah.
But if you're energetic, then you can start from
If
where
you're
you are.
somebody who is looking to solve problems, if you're trying to help people achieve their goals, the more you do that, the more money you make. And you don't have to go to school for that. Okay, if you look at the wealthiest people in the world, are they the most educated?
No.
Yeah. So that one should answer your question about the necessity of education as a prerequisite of becoming wealthy or becoming financial. You don't have to be formally educated. You need education, but you don't have to necessarily go to school to become financially successful. As we can see, there are very, very many very well educated people with no money at all, and there are very, very many poorly educated people with a lot of money. So education, formal education, is not a prerequisite. It is helpful.
You're sending me back to that conversation we had. I like to speak for these people who are not in an advantaged position.
Yeah.
Being born from a rich family, does it guarantee or does it give you mileage that you turn out better?
There are advantages.
A wealthy person.
There, you start at a more advantageous position when you have resources. When you come from a family with resources, you have more access to education, you have more access to opportunities, you have more access to travel, you have more access maybe even to
Good networks. Yes.
So all of these things are very, very important. But you have a head start doesn't mean you will win the race. It means you have a better chance of winning. So even the people who don't have these advantages, they have other advantages. So one advantage of having few resources is fire on Kibuno. Fire. Because you are compelled. When you're hungry, you're compelled to find food. When you have easy access to food, you're not too bothered about finding it. Because you can just pick from the fridge. You can send someone to pick for you, because go pick for me something, I'm hungry. From the kitchen.
From the living room.
From the living
You
room,
order someone to
someone
bring me
to
something.
bring something to eat, because there's somebody in the house that you can send even at 10 years. Somebody is 10 years old and can find someone to send to go get me something, go get me some milk, go get me some.
They pick the phone and they call. Please come.
Yeah.
I need something from the fridge.
I'm feeling
the yogurt.
Hungry. What do you want? Do you want chicken? No, I don't feel like chicken. Do you want fish? No, I don't feel like that. Do you want guinness? No, guinness is not my level. You know, you can even see somebody who has privilege. They can, even in their hunger, they can afford to reject certain things. I don't want. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like this.
Throw tantrums, Mom. I don't want local food.
I don't want those local things. Me, I want Italiano, because I studied Italian in class. So
what a silly excuse.
But when you don't have easy access to food, let me tell you, wake up in the morning, because hunger won't let you sleep in. Hunger will not let you sleep in until 8 a.m. Hunger will wake you up at 4:30 and say, let me go out there and hustle. So there's an advantage of disadvantage, and there's a disadvantage of advantages. Having easy access to resources can motivate laziness, and having little access to resources can motivate taking action. So we have to be careful.
The 8 at 8, Isaac Nkosi is here in the studios with us.
Join the money conversation with Isaac Nkosi every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on Kigali in the Morning. Money Matters, growing together with you. Powered by the Money Making Sense.
People talk about compounding. They say it is the power that can move you, especially if you have a seed. Compounding works for those who have a seed. You've had anything called seed money?
Seed money, you know it.
Yeah?
You know that one they call seed money. You mean there's money you plant?
Explain to us.
Yeah.
Compounding. What is it? Why is it so powerful for building wealth over time? And why should we start practicing compounding today?
Well, actually, Albert Einstein is the one who is credited. This man who built that bomb that we know, that big one. And I think there was also something that you said earlier about the theory of something. So he coined the compound effect or compound interest as the 8th wonder of the world. It is an amazing creative power called compound interest. And compound effect or compound interest, essentially what it is the natural occurring multiplying effect of how things grow.
You know, I want you to use simplistic words.
Let's come slowly.
Multiplier.
Yeah,
That was a
multiplier.
difficult term for me in mathematics.
Hey, you remember those days of mathematics, just terrorizing
Multiplier
us with
effect.
multiplier effect. Now, what does a multiplier effect mean? It means when you multiply something by itself, that is when you get or multiply one number by another number. So, for example, seeds. You plant a seed of maize in the ground. Maybe you plant 100 seeds. How many, if you cultivate those seeds and you make sure that they're healthy and they have what they need, how many seeds do you get in return for the seeds that you plant?
If you planted 100 seeds of maize.
How many do you get in the harvest?
And you have 100 maize plants.
Each plant how many
is
does it
likely
have?
to give you 2 cobs.
Cobs of
maize.
maize. And on one cob, how many seeds of maize?
I have never imagined.
But it's more than 2 or 3 or 4. It's a multiple. It's a multiple of the one seed that you planted.
Yes.
So you might find that you have on one head of maize, you have maybe 100, 200, 300 seeds. Maybe 100. I mean, might be
Maybe even more.
maybe more. I'm not even sure myself. But I know it's many, many, many times more than what you planted. So farmers understand the concept of multiplier very well, because they know that they have a limited number of seed and a limited amount of land. But if they can take this seed and successfully help it, because a farmer doesn't make anything grow. A farmer only facilitates growth. You're only helping a plant to grow its natural way. So when a farmer plants the seed and helps it grow, that farmer is doing it with the knowledge that when this seed matures, fully matures, it will give back many, many times more than what was planted. Many times more, 100 times more. And so that is the effect of compounding. When something doubles on itself, when something multiplies 3 times on itself, it's being compounded. And it is an amazing way to grow that most people, I think the statistic is like 98% of the world, doesn't understand the process of compounding. And it's also one of the reasons why we don't farm money, because we don't understand that if you put $100 in the ground, a good ground, and cultivate that land, and you protect it, and you weed, and you put in water, you put in fertilizer in that soil, that $100 can become 100,000.
Indeed, it's complicated. Maybe farmers would understand this better. So I have $100.
Yes.
I am going to plant it. Let's say, where possibly can I plant the $100 for it to be able to multiply? I don't want someone to run now and get their $100
and put it
note and go and plant it somewhere in the soil.
Put it in the ground like somewhere.
Yeah, that probably won't be very. You'll come back hopefully and find what you planted in 6 months, but it will not. That cash won't grow. It's a different playground. It's a different field than the one that we are planting maize. But what we are essentially talking about is investing. Investing is a similar. It takes a similar frame in its the natural process as farming. Because by the way, if you look at farming nicely, it's investing.
Yes.
If you assess it properly, if you examine farming, somebody's investing. They are putting the seed resources they have, the seeds they have. They're putting them in the ground. They are nurturing those seeds. They're cultivating those seeds to make sure that later they get more than what they put in. And that's essentially investing. The process, at least.
There are also ways where you pick your money and you just place it in an institution.
Yes, you are farming.
And wait for it to grow.
That's the soil. The soil is the institution.
So many people are afraid of putting their money in the banks because they think it grows at a very tortoise speed. Really.
Well, I don't know if putting your money in, the purpose of putting money in the bank is to make it grow. Most of the reason to put the money in the bank is to keep it safe and to have access to more money, right? So to build up your credit worthiness, if you need that, to have access to financial services, to have access to loans, to have things like this, to show a record of your business activities. You need to the bank is the one that's giving the records of your activities. To stay legal, you keep the money in the bank to stay legal, so you don't have problems with our boss there who is watching our behavior. Our revenue regulator. We need to be compliant with the rules in any country that we're living in. But probably not the ideal place to go and grow your money unless you're a banker. If you're owning the bank, then yes, it's a good place to grow money. But if you're putting your money in the bank as a customer, it's a good place to keep your money, to circulate your money, and get access to financial services. If you want to the example that you just gave, putting your money in some kind of institution, if you wanted to grow your money, you wouldn't plant your cash in the soil and add fertilizer. You'd put your money maybe in the capital markets, in the stock exchange. You put your money in the hands maybe of an investment broker or investment bank. You'd put your money in the hands of professionals who know how to grow it, or you will learn yourself the different places you can place your money, which is something I will ever and always encourage. You learn yourself how to farm money, and go and take it to fertile ground, whether it is investing in stocks, in shares in companies, whether it is investing in land, whether it is investing in properties, whether it's investing in your own business, which is highly risky and a very good chance of failure, but a great chance to learn as well, which I'll also always encourage. This is the kind of education that makes people wealthy. Even the education of failing and learning and trying again and failing again until you succeed.
I want you to educate us. Sometimes we have the illusion that because I have put my millions in the bank on the current account and I'm not picking it away, I am one of the rich people.
Because
the bank is going to give me money. That's what everyone thinks. That your money should be working.
You chose a current account. You put your money there. You put 7 million Rwanda francs, let's say. You were lucky.
Yeah.
You carry yourself around.
On Jesse's level, that's 7 million are those like Jesse.
So you move around thinking you are rich and you have money in the bank.
Well, I mean, having money in the bank is not a bad thing. And there are reasons to have money in the bank. Having money in the bank is a very good thing. Or can be. But the question, I think, is what is the definition of being rich? Or having money in the bank, I don't know if it's a sufficient definition of being financially successful or free or healthy. I think having money in the bank is a tool. It's a place to keep money. Having 7 million in the bank, maybe because you spend 700,000 every month on your necessary expenses, and you've put 7 million in the bank as an emergency fund in the event some crisis happen and you lose your job, and you know that you have some kind of guarantee in the bank, 7 million francs, you can pay your bills for 7 months, for 10 months. That it can be a definition of wealth. In fact, I think it's Jim Rohn who has a definition of wealth, that your wealth is determined not by money, but by time. How long can you survive living your current lifestyle with no additional help if you lost your main source of income today? How long can you survive?
But I wanted you to come to the point of, if you put your 7 million right now and you chose a current account in a bank,
yes,
7 months later, you will not find 7 million.
No, you'll find less.
But it's fixed, yeah?
You said a current account, not a fixed account.
Current account.
Yeah. So you will be charged.
It's also important to know
You'll be charged.
which accounts you choose when
Exactly.
you're just planting money in the bank.
Yeah.
So
it might be better to have, like the example I've given you,
Yes.
instead of a current account, to have it in a savings account or a fixed deposit, because you also need access to it when you have the emergency. So you don't want to put your money, if it's an emergency fund, which, by the way, I would use as one definition of wealth, if you have an emergency fund. Because most people don't have an emergency fund, and most people, it doesn't matter how much money they have, if they don't have an emergency fund, they won't live very long if they lose their job, their main job. I think the statistics in the US itself, the last time I checked, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, was that most Americans will not last more than 3 weeks, 21 days, if they lost their job.
they would commit suicide.
Well,
Because
Right,
there's no
just
emergency
all
fund.
the way to the darkest possible. No, I'm talking about they would not be able to sustain their lifestyle. Most Americans will not be able to sustain the way they live if they lost their job within 21 days of losing their job. They will lose their car, they will lose their house, they'll lose access to most of their lifestyle within 21 days. So people are living paycheck to paycheck, long story short.
It can be worse for Africans. It can be worse for Rwandans.
I actually think
If
it
somebody
might not
lost...
be.
Listen,
Uh-huh.
do you know why it might not be? It's because the option is, if you lost your opportunity, if you lost your job, the first thing you're doing is asking your parents if they can have you back.
Yeah. you
And
fall back on your community.
That is if your parents are not renting in Kigali.
Assuming you have parents. But also, one way that we might be slightly better off than this particular situation of the American context is that Rwandans don't live on credit.
Hmm.
Africans, generally, we don't have the credit establishment that the West has.
We live by
especially the West.
miracle.
We have a different mode of handling financial needs, because especially in America, where you most people can't do anything without credit. You can't get a house, you can't get a car, you can't get a telephone, you can't get a phone, a cell phone service. You can't get a service with MTN in America if you don't have a credit card or credit history. You can bring cash and they say, no, we want credit. We want to know that you can pay your bills before we give you a phone.
How do we even survive here?
It's a different approach to running an economy between the West, especially the US, and the way things that we do most African countries.
We are the broke people. But
I wouldn't say that.
Somehow we figure out how to
I
survive.
wouldn't say that we are the broke people, actually. I wouldn't say that, because again, it depends on the way you define. So somebody who lives on zero, they have zero every day, the zero balance, is richer than somebody who lives on negative.
Most
So
of those guys
a
live on
typical
negatives,
African,
actually.
typical Rwandan, I'm living on zero. I got no
But
job,
you're
I got
better
no
off than someone
income.
who's on negative.
Whose paycheck comes and it's just distributed.
Immediately distributed.
Yeah.
Immediately minus, because you
But
make 10K
I
and
want
you are
some
spending
confirmation how we live on zero.
12K. So basically,
An American at least
you
will hear
consume what
Biden
you-
say that they are going to give out some, cash outs to families and.
But
But-
politics.
But on
American
zero,
politics.
how do you know? That's why I'm saying we live by miracle.
Well, I don't.
You
I
wake
don't
up,
deny it,
you have
it's
no
miracle.
job, you
Yeah.
have no income,
Yeah.
but somehow
You go out and you hustle.
no.
You go meet your
You're
friend. Somebody
driving
gives you a
car
soda.
which has fuel. You fuel your car, but you still survive.
Somehow we find ourselves surviving.
So it's because you're adding value in some way or the other, but also because there's some function of community. That's the other thing. That's another advantage that a lot of African communities enjoy, is that there's this Ubuntu mentality,
Mm.
and it's not Rwandan only. It's a very African sentiment. It's not only African. You find it in other non-African cultures as well. But this collective mindset that we rely on each other has its benefits, because when you don't have your sister or your cousin or somebody you're working at the office with, somebody might give you a loaf of bread, right? And that's because we will rely on each other. It's very healthy at a certain level. At other levels, where we are doing harambe for everything, including for our weddings, and I only have a pair of socks for my wedding, but I want to harambe for everything, and I want to have a wedding in I don't know, in Zanzibar, but I will only pay for my own socks, not even my bride's socks. That at that level, I think it's unhealthy. But the fundamental original Ubuntu mindset, I think, is very functional, especially in our communities. But what I'm trying to say is that living in negatives, living on debt, on consumer debt, on debt for eating, not debt for planting. When we live like that, we are building negative. You're building down. You're building a hole, as opposed to building a skyscraper. And that is worse than making money today and eating it, and then making money today and then eating it, because at least you stay above zero.
Listen up. Last question, and I know news is coming, but you'd use maybe 1 minute. How does starting early, give us an edge when
Time.
it comes to compounding?
Time is the most valuable resource when it comes to building wealth. It's more valuable than money. Actually, time is always more valuable than money, because money you can recover. You can't recover time, right? Time is a non-renewable resource. This time you are spending on this radio show, you'll never get it back. So when you start early,
Are you saying I'm better off being in a mine?
Well, I'm saying that you're better off using best use of your time.
You're better off being in a stone quarry somewhere.
As long as that is productive, use your time productively. And that's the number one advantage. Of course, there's more to it, but I think we're out of time.
Yes, we're out of time. Isaac Nkosi here on the Money Making Sense podcast. Go check him out on all social media handles. It's been a pleasure. News Hour is up next. Thank you, Isaac.
Join the money conversation with Isaac Nkosi every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on Kigali in the Morning.